And Jojo is in the club, so she will not even talk.
Yes, I'm here.
You don't turn off your wait here for before now.
I was just listening.
All right, so the DOM. The HTML document is structured as a JavaScript object. Every HTML element has different properties which can help to manipulate it. It's possible to get, create, append, remove HTML elements using JavaScript. So check the examples below. Selecting HTML elements using JavaScript is similar to selecting using CSS. So to select an HTML element, we use its tag name, ID, class name, or other attributes. So did have we have this index.html. So I think we can we can be using it instead. So I'm going to remove main module and put day 21. So document object model, a DOM that we've been hearing so much about. So I'll just take this body, these H1s. Okay. Okay, and we're going to call this DOM instead. All right, so we have four H1s. There is, the first one called first title, second title, third title, and this empty H1. Okay, so the four things we have. So the first thing we'll look at is getting elements by tag name. Tag name is, the name of those HTML tags like p tag, h1, div, span, and all that. So get elements by tag name returns an HTML collection. Now, HTML collection is something that is similar to an array, but it's not exactly an array. Remember, there are different kinds of objects, and classes can be created to behave anyhow the creator wants it to behave. Yeah. So HTML collections similar to arrays. Also, we're also going to encounter another kind of data type called node lists. I'm coming. Is that sound distracting? The music playing in the background.
No.
No, it's not. Okay, that's fine. All right. So document.get elements by tag name. Let's go try that out. So now, documents. I think first of all, we should look at documents. Um, Documents. Documents is the entire HTML, right? The entire HTML document. So this whole thing is document, right? And we can also see things like this. Documents.head returns, you can see returns the head element. So let's just keep that on side. There's also body. And again, it's simple. Document.body returns the beginning and end of the document body. So there are sometimes you may need to, use this. Maybe you want to set some class names to body, or do some things. Same thing with head too. Although this one is rarely ever needed. Now, there's also the last one. You can see there are like 3 major tags here. There's the heads, the body, and there's also this HTML, this wrapping tag. It's also possible to get this with JS. And sometimes it's important, like, if you're working with Tailwind, trying to use dark mode, you can, if you tried it before, you remember that the way the dark mode works is by you setting a class or removing a class here. I think it's called dark or dark mode. So if you put dark on HTML, then Tailwind would look at your work as something in dark mode. So if you wrote any classes that have to do with dark mode, like, if it's in dark mode, apply the styling, then those stylings will begin to take effect. So you see that there's a need for you to be able to get this HTML element. And it's troubling. It's very troubling to find how to do it, because if you search for how to get the HTML element with JavaScript, you see a lot of, links, posts talking about how to get an HTML element. And there's a difference between those two. There's a difference between the HTML element and an HTML element. So it's troubling to find the actual one. But yeah, this is a document element. It gets a reference to the root node of the document. So it returns that main HTML element. So before we start looking at, okay, let me move this up. These are not really tag name.
So, I'm sorry. Sorry to cut draw you back. I think I did not hear that part where you were talking about HTML, where you wanted to give it a class. What were you saying there? I don't understand.
Oh, I was talking about using Tailwind. I was talking about that there are situations where you may want to get that main HTML element to do something, maybe set class name, remove class name for some reason. And I just use the Tailwind as an example. If you are using Tailwind, setting dark mode, Tailwind has like dark mode settings. Like if you want this thing to be, say, black text, normally, you say text black, for example, with Tailwind. But if you want it that if your page is in dark mode, it should be white text. Then you do this dark text white. But then how do you tell your app that it's in dark mode? How do you tell Tailwind that your app is in dark mode? So the tailwind way to do that is to go to class in HTML element and set, I've forgotten if it's just dark or it's dark mode, but one of those two. Anyway, you need to come to the class of this HTML element and do that, and it will recognize your app as being in dark mode and make this work. So you see, for that kind of situation now, you probably need to get this HTML element in your JavaScript so you can mess with the class names as you want. So that's clear, Abby?
Yes.
All right, so Quokka doesn't roll well with, well, maybe I should just leave it. Quokka doesn't roll well with DOM, so I'm not going to use Quokka today. I'm going to be using the browser the whole way. So we've got these four things: documents, everything is an object in your HTML. That the concept of DOM, document object model, is that everything in there is an object. From what we've been doing so far, you can tell that, sure, there are different ways for you to store information about something, but objects are just the easiest to work with, right? Storing in arrays is troublesome because you have to be worried about order and stuff like that. But with an object, you can properly give something a property name or key name that you want and a nice value attached to that. And you can have objects inside objects. So that's just the whole principle of how it happens. There's the document, and then things begin to happen. Inside the document, there's a document element. Yeah, this HTML dark mode. And then in there, it begins to have its own children, stuff and stuff. Well, children will be in body shower, and let's see, there's head somewhere. Head. So just a whole bunch of stuff is stored. So there are also these, objects don't just have properties, like properties that store values. They also have functions in them, and we call those methods. So this HTML document also has its methods. So I think the methods aren't clearly showing up like that. Like not those methods. It's just the properties that we're seeing. But let's say using this now. In VS Code, if you type and you put the dots, you see the whole thing, like methods, properties, all of them. So we can begin to see something like, clone node, close, contains, all of these are methods. But for getting elements, these are the ones we will G. Yeah, see them. Get element by ID, get elements by class name, get elements by name, tag name. I'm not sure what this tag name NS is. Get root node. This get root node I think it should return this document element like the HTML, the main HTML. I've not tried it. And the interesting thing is that these methods, this get element by ID and the rest of them, they don't just exist on the document object. Basically, for every child of the document object, they have these things. So you mustn't always say document.get element by let's say tag name to get elements. You can pick a particular element after getting it somehow with JavaScript. Let's say you have this particular div. You can pick it and look for elements that have a particular tag name inside it. Something like that. So anyway. Alright, well, we're not done looking at this. So yeah, we've seen the document. It shows everything, even the URL itself has location. So I think this is feeling like this is window. You know, if you do window.location, you see this. And now we're seeing that document.location is also showing that location object. So I think this document is like the global element for HTML. And in heads, yeah, you see a bunch of things. It looks just like a regular element. So I saw meta somewhere. Yeah, child nodes. So there are these things, child nodes and children. So there is meta, title, script style, right? And if you come over here and go look here, see this meta. There is no style. There are two metas, a title, script and style. This is weird. There's actually no style, or is it just something that is there like forever, even though it's not really linking anywhere? That's interesting. Anyway, without getting stuck here, yeah, there's body and HTML element, and you can see it's showing. We also came down to class lists. You see dark mode. These objects for elements, they store a lot of information. Like you can see the long list of properties, so I don't need to tell you there's a whole lot of information. So the whole concept of DOM manipulation is knowing how to get those information, how to change those information, just how to play around with those information. That entirely is DOM manipulation. It's just knowing how to walk around the objects that store info about those elements, those HTML elements, and just doing stuff with them. Really, that's the entirety of DOM manipulation. So, without further ado, let's go look at getting elements by tagging. So const h1s. I think this is a valid property name. Or do we make it all h1s? H1s is just fine. So document dot get elements by tag name, and you put quotes and you put what tag you want. Okay. You can see the whole list of HTML tags. So want h1, and then we're going to console log h1s. So this is what we see. HTML collection with 4 items. Now you remember there were 4 H1s. The last one just didn't have anything written in it. And you can see them. This first one had, these classes. It has this ID. You can see it. Okay, I clicked on it. Yeah, clicking on these will take you to the Elements tab and show you that element. Like this. Alright, so remember how we said you mustn't always go through documents, right? If you wanted to narrow your search, say you have a particular element and you want to only search for tags inside that element, you can also do that. But let's look at a few more methods. After tag name, you're talking of class name. Right. Sorry, don't mind me. I was thinking of something. We have these four H1 elements that are stored in this variable, right? And we said this returns returns an HTML collection. An HTML collection is similar to a array, but it's not exact. So let's see what array methods we can use on it. So let me say const, they were called title, first title. So let's say first title. Is equal to h1s dot, and you can see we only get three properties. Sorry, two methods and a property. Just length, item. This item takes a number, and then this named item, it takes a string. I haven't used named item before. So with item, we pass in a value 0 and see what it returns. First title. Also, let's try this. Const second title is equal to h1's this. Let's see if trying to access it, you know how you access items in normal array, if that will also work. At least from this, you can already see that trying to use something like for each or map is not going to work because it's not exactly an array. Okay, so both ways worked. We have first title showing us this. Oh, I put square bracket 0 too for second title. Sorry, I should have put square bracket 1. But we can see it's working anyway. It's showing us this. So those are two ways you can, with the index, with knowledge of index, you can, out of an HTML collection, you can get the particular element you want from there. So it's important to keep that in mind. So next, we'll look at getting elements like class name. So you see, this tag name, even if there is only one element that has this tag name, it's still going to get it inside an HTML collection. It's always going to return an HTML collection. Same thing with class name, because these are methods that have the possibility of getting multiple things. So they will always return an HTML collection. Then there's get element by ID, always returns one single element. So no HTML collection, it just returns the element like that. So far, are we having any problems? Yeah. This one, everybody is quiet. I hope all is well.
We are following.
And it's easy so far, Abby.
Yes.
All right, so const titles, because if you remember, these three had the class title. So if we do get element by class name, we're expecting to see these three elements. Titles is equal to document that gets elements like class name. And so we just put the class name like that. Title. I think that was it. No S. And if we log titles, we should see those three things. So I won't bother trying to do first title, second title, because it's still an HTML collection. So we already know that these two ways would work. Yeah, so we've got this HTML collection with three items, and we have first title, second title, third title. So that was just as expected. So if you had to run a loop through this, you'd see you'd have to use something like a for loop or while loop. You can't really use like for each. So trying that, let me see. So let's try a for loop and a for off loop. Already for and while, they can do very similar things. So if you already use for, no need to use while. For let's I, or maybe let's say I is good because it's index that we can use to access it. So for let I equal to 0, I less than, yes, how do you get the length from here? Because, looping through an array, you usually want to get the length. So titles dot what? Titles dot length I plus plus. What do we want to log? So any of these ways are going to work. Let's go with the easier one. Titles, square brackets, I dot, I don't know, what can we pick from here? Let's pick ID. ID is a property. You can already imagine what it holds. So console log this. Let's say I So can someone tell me what they expect to see in this console log? Let's just the first item in the console log. The first console log rather. What would you see here? And what would you see here? Let's go look at titles. This is the first element in titles. And this is the ID. So what do you think we are going to see here?
One equals to 4.
Okay. 1 and the value will be what?
First title.
The value first title. So are we all right with this? This is what we're expecting to see as the first item. Nobody's saying anything different, so you all agree.
No, I think why I missed it is when you said this title angle bracket dot ID. I'm still not getting that part.
Okay, but did you get this? This one. H1 square bracket 0.
You want to get the first item in the array.
In this HTML collection.
Mm.
So this alone,
That
titles,
HTML
square
collection, is it
bracket,
an array or an object?
it's something that looks closer to an array.
Okay, I
But you can
understand.
see, you get it. It only has three things, like two methods and one property. Unlike arrays that have a lot, we've got map and for each, a lot of stuff under it, a lot of properties and methods. But HTML collections just have those three visible ones. This one to get item with an index. You can also use the square bracket way to get an item with its index. So is this one still confusing?
And it's still confusing me.
It's
Wait,
still confusing.
wait. This place, you said the HTML collection has only two, the method the just to get the elements in it, right?
See, titles is an HTML collection. You can
Mm-hmm.
see HTML collection. So titles dot. These are the only three things we see. Item, length, and named item. So it's not an array. It's just something similar to an array.
Okay.
That's fine. And now, you know that doing this gets you an element.
Yes.
Yeah. So elements have their own different properties and methods. You see a whole long list. We're still going down, right? And one of those properties that it has is ID. So you
Okay.
can see the ID of any element. So what we're trying to do is we're just looping through this HTML collection,
Hmm.
right? And trying to see the IDs of everything inside it. So is this part still confusing?
Okay, I understand it now.
What about
Okay.
this part?
And that one is just to get the index.
Okay. So you agree that the first thing we're expected to see is one and first title.
Yes. Okay.
All of you are agreeing. That's it.
Shouldn't the I be zero, like the index?
Exactly. I was expecting someone to say that. So 0, first title, second title, third title. So this is this is how you can loop through an HTML collection.
Let me do something to Taylor. Taylor.
Oh, sorry. So if it was to be 1, it would be I plus 1, Abi.
Okay, yeah. If you, if you wanted that, then yeah, I plus 1.
Keep sorry, man.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So we'll just move on to ID, getting elements for ID.
You adding one to that I. I is just starting from 0 now. It will just
Yeah, but he wanted to see 1, 2, 3 instead of 0, 1, 2
okay.
by ID. So this returns the element itself. Now, let me see before I write this. Const title will be equal to document dot get element by ID. Okay, it returns the element itself, returns the HTML element. Why I paused for a moment, returns the HTML element if it exists. So you can tell that null is if that ID does not exist. For this one, you're still going to get an HTML collection. It will just be empty if there's nothing that matches that class name or tag name. So this will be that or null. So document dot, okay, yeah, get element by ID, and the ID was third title. third title. So yeah, that's just it. Returns third title, third title. So now, these three methods are, of course, they are very useful, but you can see that they are kind of rigid. Let me see. We get elements by class name. Returns an HTML collection of the elements on which the method was invoked that have all the classes given by class names. So it's saying it's a string. Let me see. I want to see if it's possible to find, get multiple class names. So not just title, but something that has title and text black, for example. So if I give a space, and then text black. Okay, so that does work. So if you want to get something with multiple titles, you just put them with a space. But we might argue that title and text black are right next to each other. So instead, let's use this dark text white. Title and dark text white. Okay, and we still get this. So any questions with that? Hello, any problems with this?
No.
No. So now we've looked at these three ways. But there is another very powerful way to get elements. Personally, I like this one because it's super flexible. And this is query selector. And query selector, what does it return? Is it also the element or no? Let's see. Let's make the second title one. I'll use this first title because it has so many things. The first title one will be equal to documents, query selector, so it returns the first element that matches those selectors. So now query selector does take a string, but this is where it gets interesting. You can put any combination of whatever you want, just like you would do in CSS. Only, without using parents to try to reach it. So something like, if you want to put an ID, you say ID first title, because that's the ID of the element we want. And you can mix it up by, adding things like, say, title or dark text, something like that. You can even put other attributes, like, say, or maybe let's use that for an input. Let's have an input, type is text, and let's say name is first name. First name. What do we have? Placeholder. Placeholder is John. Yeah. So we could have const first name input will be document.query selector. So tell me, if I wanted to find this element by what its name is, how would I do that? You can see name is first name. The name attribute is first name. So how would I do that? Yeah.
Wait, I need to understand your question. You want to find first name inputs.
Yes.
Yes,
By
by
targeting
targeting
it.
its thing.
You guys write
You guys
CSS.
write CSS.
And we write
So-
CSS now.
So
if you wanted to
if you
target
wanted to
something
target
by
something by
attributes, how would you do it?
how would you do it?
If you want to, know.
Are you talking about is it double semicolon?
No.
Okay.
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 Look at this.
Look at this.
This is something
This is something you might have
done.
done.
Checkbox.
Checkbox.
Let's leave
Yeah.
name
Let's
an
leave
ID.
name an ID.
Yes.
And we have this
We
check.
have this checked.
You know,
You know,
checked
checked is a
property of this.
property of this.
There's also
There's also
this
this
disabled.
disabled.
Or
And
we
these
can
are
kind
all
of
We can
leave
kind of leave
disabled.
Please, can
disabled.
someone please mute the mic? There's like a feedback or something.
Uh-huh. I don't want to use disabled because people can also do this. Let me say input colon disabled. Okay, I think it's one colon disabled in CSS to still access this. But I don't think you can do that for checked. So checked is the next one. How would you style this? If you wanted to style your checkbox differently when it's checked and when it's not checked, how would you do that? Okay, let me put something for sure that I know you must use this way. Let's say it has a data attribute. Maybe data checked. You've heard of data attributes, right? Or maybe data background, or data color. Let me use this for this instead. Red. So if you wanted to style these H1s, that if it has a data color of blue, the color should be blue. If it has a data color of red, the color should be red. How would you do it in CSS?
You don't want to use the ID to target it.
You don't
to
use
use
the
the
ID.
attribute.
You want to use data color.
Yeah, I've not done that one before.
Really? So nobody here has done that before. For real, nobody.
Nope.
So I guess we'll learn some CSS today now.
Is it like a CSS variable? I'm confused.
No, it's not. It's not variable. I feel somebody here may have seen it. Maybe it's just not coming to your mind. So this is how you'd go about it. You have an input, right? That may have a property, say data color. Data color. And data color is equal to blue. And you want the color to be blue. has it.
So this styling, what does it target basically? Is it the data that is imputed into the input, or what
It
exactly does
looks
it
for
target?
this attribute. What this array does is, this is attributes. We can also say this ID is equal to third title. Basically, this is just put any attribute and it will check that attribute value. Does that make sense? Okay. We also had an input that had a placeholder. Placeholder equal to John. What do we want to do to this input? Something special. A border green. Right. So any input that has the attribute data color and the value of that data color is blue, give it the color blue. Any element at all that has the ID of third title, give it the color red. Any input that has a placeholder with the value of John, give it a 1px solid green border. Those are all clear, Abi?
Please give me that CSS page again. Let me screenshot it. It's clear, but I've not used it before.
Sorry. Right.
Give me the CSS, their page of CSS. I will wait.
Yeah, just a moment.
Okay. Just let me screenshot. Just give me minutes. Thank you. I've done it. I've not done styling like this before.
Like this. Okay. Oh, I didn't put anything in here. Query selector, I didn't put anything. What do I put? First name input. Okay, so yeah, looking at this way that we have this. You put an array and then key equal to property, right? So how would you do that here? If we wanted to get first name input and want to use the name attribute, want to say any element that has name property and the name is first name, how would we do that here?
So will you still use a square bracket? Or...
I'm asking you, you're asking me. Look at this one now. If you wanted to target this in CSS, this is exactly how you write.
We know that one.
So look at this now. You've seen how it's done in CSS. How would you write it?
But you want to target an input, the attribute of
Not
an
necessarily
input.
an input. It must not be an input. We just want anything that has name property, and the value of that name property, first name.
What I'm thinking is that you just write that bracket and put the name. Then
Bracket.
That square bracket. Yes, name. Then you put like an object. Then you write name. A colon. First name.
First name. Like this.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, do we all agree with this? Quietness everywhere. Do we all agree with this? Okay, silence is consent. Abi.
I said
You said
No.
Sorry, I agree
Okay.
with what? I didn't get that. I heard
Look at this. We're trying to get um, any element that has a name property and the value of that name property is first name. So considering how we did it in CSS, how would you do it here? Remember I
Okay.
said query selector gives you the flexibility to, find elements just like you would in CSS.
I was thinking we can use like an object.
Object. Okay, how would that go?
Yeah. So remove the array. I use that turn it to an
All
object.
this. First input 1 and this first input 2. So objects, sorry.
And the name property, then first name.
Okay, let me just add this here. Okay, name,
First name.
first name. Okay, any other view? Bashir, you disagreed with Jojo on this one. So do you agree with this one or you have your own special view? Bash.
This one too, I disagree.
Okay.
I'm
I
waiting for
disagree.
your-
All right. Yeah, each one of you, I'm waiting for your answer. You're telling me I'm waiting for my answer. Give me something. You can't disagree with both and not give me anything. Give me a third option. Let me just duplicate this. So this will be first input 3. So what am I changing? What am I writing different? You have to give me something. You think you have to give me something. So start thinking of what you give me.
What if we use backtick, then you like target the value with the dollar sign.
$.
Okay.
Okay. So that means instead of this, I should use backticks.
Like template literals, right?
Yeah. So what am I writing? Now here you have to know, please. yeah. Yes. So what am I writing?
You can still do name equals to first name.
Name equal to first name. So why the backticks if you're not going to do anything special with the backticks? We could have quickly just put normal quotes.
I mean name. I the reason I'm new.
The
Name,
original.
then name quotation, then you put that first name into this thing. No, don't do equals to, please. Like just the way you've been doing.
Okay. Like this.
Then you go wrap that one around objects, then give a dollar sign. I think.
Okay.
Value.
Like this.
Something like that.
All right. So any other view?
Is that first name a variable that we're wrapping it with that dollar sign?
Is it a value?
Bash, up to you.
Could you spare God and help us check the console, I beg?
Actually, on second thought, I think the first one is correct. So, if I'm
Okay,
doing this,
it's hard. Now you're a supporter. You don't want to
yes,
be.
I'm a supporter of 1 and 3, but I don't know what about.
But this
Yeah,
three,
switch on the
you heard the
first.
question he asked you now. Is this a variable?
It's not. It's meant to
So
be a value.
do we leave it like this? Since it's not a variable, and you know that.
Come on, Sam.
Come
That's
on.
the same thing.
It might be correct, man, Bashir. Leave him.
Just put first name. Let's just do a different variant.
Okay, different variant.
Number one.
All right. So who is correct? Yeah, this I'll say. So we have this. First of all, do we see this working? Second title, it's not blue. Let's look at the style again. Data color is equal to blue. Data color is equal to... Oh, input. Oh, my bad. Let me close this one. Let me make it H1. Yeah, so first of all, we can see that this thing is working. The CSS stylings we did are working, right? H1 with data color blue is blue. Any item, any element with data color red is red. And this one too, input with placeholder John should have green border. It does have green border. So let's go over here. And what do we see? Failed to execute query selector on documents because this thing is not a valid selector. I told you guys, it's exactly the way you write it in CSS that you write it in JS with query selector. And this is what we wrote, equal to. But all of you gave this. So first person that gave this one. I think that was Jojo. Can you correct this?
You put equal to instead of the column.
Instead of the column, put equal. Okay. So the second person, do you still think this will work?
So for I was thinking that is the color we have. So I was thinking, can we render an array like that? So that's why I said, okay, probably an object. Since it's a name, it's a key and the value.
Okay.
You understand? Yeah.
Right.
So if I have known that it's equal to, I wouldn't have suggested this.
Okay, you didn't see when we did the CSS, I mean?
No, I didn't see it.
Yes, you didn't see it. All right, so yeah.
I didn't see it too, actually.
Wow. Confess. So. It's all right.
Sorry, I went to
all
play.
Right.
I didn't see it. So my phone was in my pocket.
All right, no wahala. All right, so yeah, this is the way to go about it. So I need to remove these other two.
But wait, what we were trying to target was, you said for any element that has a name, any element that has name and the value is first name, right?
Like how do I put this? It has a name attribute. And the value of that name attribute is this.
See, now they would understand what you explain. Because what I was thinking was that it's not I get it. So you have to write it the way you wrote it in the CSS. Not even from the HTML. Like the way you have ID, the way you wrote ID, that's the way you targeted that ID.
Yeah, just like that.
But if you notice, you don't write when you okay, I get.
This one, normally you don't. I think you mute yourself.
Okay, sorry.
For this ID on, it's true that the usual way to do ID is just hash, third title. But I did this like this to show you that this square bracket way is general, is universal. Any attribute at all. ID is also an attribute. Class is also an attribute. Any attribute at all, you just you can use this square bracket to get it. It's just that for class, I think you would have to be very specific. Like you can't pick a particular class name. It's probably that's true. Let's see if it will work for class too. Because class is a bit special. It's about the only thing that can collect multiple let me see. So if I said title and dark text white, let's see if that will work. Title, see, just the space is already making me uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, there could still be this. Well, I doubt this. I doubt this. So color again. Color can be purple. And purple should look different. Yeah, it didn't work. So aside from class, well, let me see. I'm curious if I also added this one. There was text black, right? Title, text black, dark text white. Would it find it? Yeah, I did. So you need to put the exact, if you want to use class. So using that square bracket way for class is just tricky. But yeah, any attribute, if you put the exact value for that attribute,
but one thing I noticed that for those other ones, you did not put the, you didn't put the, what is it called that thing?
Quotation.
That two like string, got a quotation mark.
Yeah, double quote.
Yeah, you did not.
They are not necessary.
For the other one, but you put it for the one for class for it to work.
That was just because of spaces. Because of the spaces.
Okay, if it was just only one class, maybe like just title only, it will work without.
Okay, let me try that. Now we have a smoke. Okay. I'll remove this too. Because it's actually these two that have class equal to title. You understand?
Okay.
You understand?
Oh.
Okay, so temporarily I'll remove them. Let's see. Yeah. They did done.
It worked.
Yeah.
I get you.
All right, so that's query selector. We've spent a lot of time on this query selector. I do hope you guys can get it, sure. As long as you are great with targeting things in CSS, you shouldn't have a problem with this. So now, yes, one more question. So we've seen that this is how to get first name, right? Get an element that has name as first name. So what if I did this, for example? I said there's a form. And this form has, let's give it another input. Maybe, okay, still text. This will be last name. Right, let's just copy all of this. This will be do. Last name. Let me remove this disabled. Okay, let's just leave it at just these two. Now, these two things, okay, we're going to do two things. First of all, we're going to get form with query selector. And then inside form, we're going to get all, we're going to test out query selector all. So query selector and query selector all, they work similarly. The only difference is that with query selector, you're only getting the first element that matches whatever the hell you write in here. But with query selector all, it's going to get all of them. You understand? Every element that matches whatever the hell you write in here, query selector all is going to get them. So let's take a look at that. I should just put this as Q. So now, these other three ways, tag name, class name, okay, two ways. tag name, class name, they return an HTML collection because they are getting multiple things. This one is also getting multiple things. However, it doesn't return an HTML collection. It returns something different that is called a node list. Again, it's another one of those amazing data types in JavaScript that looks like an array, but it's not really an array. But it has a bit more functionality than an HTML collection. I think this one actually does have for each. So that's that. So we're going to get two things. One, we're going to get form with query selector. So can someone help me with that? How do we get form with query selector?
Let me try.
Yeah.
Okay. You say documents.
Query selector all.
Okay, dot query selector.
Okay, query selector. What else?
You know it's tag. No, you will now form is a tag. So I will put yes, then put the tag name inside form.
Okay. Form. Just like this. Just like this.
Yes, just like that.
All right. So down here, I'm going to log form. But let's not go check it yet. Let's move on to the next thing. So assuming form is correct, we're now going to get input fields. Because inside the form...
Why are you putting the form in an object?
I'm just logging it.
Okay.
And you know my style of logging now. This is name and value. Sorry, property and value. So the key will be form.
Yeah.
So input fields now. I want to get input fields inside form. Remember how I said you mustn't be doing document.get this or document.query selector. You can also, if you have a particular element, you can also use those get element by ID and all and query selector on that element to look for elements inside that element. So this is a good chance to experience that. So we can say form dot. Now we're going to use query selector all. So this is where I want your inputs. I just want to get every element that has a name attribute. I don't really want the name to be equal to anything. I just want them to have a name. As long as they have a name, then sure. You know that if you have input fields in a form, you are going to give them name, most likely. If you want to be doing, JS with them, you need to give them a name so you can access them. That kind of thing. So this is one small hack I came up with. Instead of getting each individual input fields, targeting them one by one, you can just get all of them with input fields and this query selector all on the form. So how would you do that? Hello.
Hello. No, I'm thinking that you should just do put your I don't know why they always forget this thing.
Double quotes.
Double quotes, yes. Then you now put your double quote. Then you now put your angle bracket and only the name. Don't define anything. Name. Put the name inside and finish.
Okay, so are you guys okay with this? Or do we need to create input fields too? Bash, do you agree this time around?
Can we remove the bracket, the square brackets? I'm just thinking.
All right. Okay. Any other opinion?
You put his inputs you are looking for.
I am looking for inputs that have the name attribute.
That have the name.
I really want to focus on using name to get them. Because it's possible you could have, impute button.
But name is name like a string.
This is name. First name, last name.
Name is an attribute.
Me, I'm thinking imputes. Then, as you did that in the up place, type equals to text. Since they are both, but you said name. You specifically said name.
Because type can be very different. Email is very common to have email also.
That's why I said type text.
Yeah, but the fact that we're not targeting the impute, is it right? Like we're not mentioning the impute at all.
That's what I'm wondering too. Why are we using?
It's not wrong as long as you have an idea of what your HTML looks like. You personally made sure that all inputs have a name attribute. So just targeting anything inside this form that has a name attribute will give you all these elements. Of course, as well, targeting input elements themselves would also give you the element, right? There are usually many ways to skin a rabbit, as they say. But I'm sure we already know if I said use input, use the tag input to get these two inside this form, you can do that. But if this one, I'm not sure if you can do. So let's try it out. How would you get these two? By just the fact that they have a name attribute and they're inside form. So that's what we're trying to do.
Meant to use inputs. Yeah. That's one thing I know. You are meant to use inputs. You are not meant to use name.
But you can use name.
You can use name.
Yes, no, that's what I'm telling you. You can.
Okay. Well, but if you use inputs and you bracket just like that input field once, you put input in front of the name. Won't it get all inputs that have name attributes?
It would. But I just want to use only name.
But what I think is, as far you have put form dot, that form will take input, so it's already targeting the form. I don't know if you get. I don't know if that's what I'm thinking. So even if you put the inputs there, I'm not saying that you cannot put it, but as far as form, you have targeted all the form. So it's what it will be checking now is any input that has that name attribute. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't know.
I think Josephine's explanation makes sense to me as to why name.
You trying to target its input is not wrong, but I'm just saying that I want to use only name. Anyway, let's go check it out. Okay, we have. Why is this one? Do they have border radius by default? Ooh, that's strange. It's fine, because this one doesn't have. Why does this one have? Alright, so input with one did give us a response. Okay, we can hover on this. So this is inputs and that's the other input. And just putting name without the square brackets didn't return anything. Alright, so we can see it returns a node list. So let's look at what is possible in a node list. Input fields one. Let me just remove these and have only input fields. So input fields dot, and we see we have a little more. We have entries. Returns an array of key value pairs for every entry. It's just like object.entries. We've got for each. Works just like the for each, for arrays. We've got item, just like that item we saw up there, where you say dot item and you put in an index, and it gives you the element. We have dot keys, returns a list of keys in the list. Again, just like object.keys. There's also object.values. Well, sorry, node list.values, just like the values, Oh, that's true. When they say a list of values, that usually means an array, like a regular array. So that's nice.
And so you're saying that the node list is an array?
No, the node list is not an array. No, the node list is not an array, but I think node list.values is going to return an array.
Okay.
So let's try that out. So if we said inputs array is equal to input fields dot values. Returns a list of values. And so if we say inputs array dot, oh, it doesn't. Next, return row. That's sad. So I don't think these values worked as I expected. However, there is also this.
Let me ask you a question before you continue. But this input dot value now, what it will store will be the inputs. I'm trying index.
I've actually not used that value before.
I'm trying to think.
Well, I'm going to consolidate it now and see what it shows. But this is normally how I try to turn them into an array if I want to do something. So array dot from input fields, and this turns your node list into an array. And if you did inputs array dot, you have access to all array functions just like you normally do. So array dot from is an interesting what do we call that thing now? You can see this dot from is called on the array class itself, not really an object created from the array class, but on the array, just like date.now. So what it does, it takes in an object and turns it into an array. Yeah, that's what it does. So it mustn't really just be, there's a way it's used, but for things that already look kind of like arrays, like this node lists, and I think HTML collection. So let's try it for an HTML collection. Let me say titles. Titles. Should I use tags? Maybe H1s. It has plenty of things. So we have a few more things to log. There's form, input fields, input values, inputs array, and H1s. Alright, so this is form as you expected. So your query selector works well. And H1s, okay, it's arranging alphabetically. Yeah, H1s was an HTML collection of all H1s.
Sorry, please. What's the difference between a node list and an HTML collection?
I think, well, one thing I would say would be the methods available. You noticed that input fields is a node list. And when we did input fields dot, we saw a few more things. We saw entries for each, values, and I think keys. Yeah, these 4 things are not in HTML collection. Yeah. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. So anyway, the very useful.
Sorry to draw you back. Your question was what's the difference between HTML collection and node list, right?
Yes, that was it. Yes.
Okay, so what was the answer? I did not get very well. I know
the answer was
the HTML collections don't have much method, just to access method. Abi?
Yes, HTML collection just had the item methods. There was another weird method like that. And then there was length.
Is to actually get the element in each index, right?
Yeah, in any index.
I got that one. Then for the node list, it's not an array. According to what it's not an array, but it has more methods, like more than the HTML.
More than the HTML collection.
Yes, and some of the methods when you like what I noticed that there was a drop down when you just put the variable that is a node list, all the methods just came out. You get?
Yeah.
Okay, so then to convert a node list to a proper array, so that to have the method of an array is to use array dots from, you put the name of the node list, right? That's what I've got.
It also works for HTML collections.
I did not see that one.
Yeah, remember H1's array? Remember H1's?
Yes.
From Get and Render.
I remember.
So we were doing this here, H1's array. So let's go check it out. So we're expecting input array and H1's array to be actual arrays. And we should see that from in the console log. Well, this I want to do. For HTML collections, we're able to do this, like where you access something with square brackets. Let's see if that's also possible with node list. Input field square bracket 0. All right. So we've got first inputs, so that works. So using square brackets to access something in a node list is also possible, just like with HTML collection. The form works. H1's array is actually an array of all the H1s. Yeah, so that did work out. Input fields is a node list of both inputs. Yeah. Inputs array was just converting that node list to an array. Also worked. And inputs values, I see an array iterator. So it feels like it didn't work the way I expected it to work. They say it returns a list of values. Maybe I underestimated that this word list. I guess if they were serious about it being an array, they would have said, okay, create an array. So I guess I was wrong about that. Lists in JavaScript is not really array. List is just list.
So what did that input feed dot value? What did it return?
It returns this iterable iterator.
Okay. So are you saying that? I mean, I don't. Maybe all the methods that they showed us that it was a drop down. Not all of them will return something. It will make sense.
I'm trying to remember something.
Okay.
If you have a function, let's say const add, or maybe const fruits, and in here you have a bunch of things, maybe mango, orange, apple. You know, inside your function, you can get. This is not an arrow. What's the issue? Wow. Am I missing something?
Is it not because of the fact that those things that you're entering is supposed to be parameters? Like you should find them like I don't know.
There's this ways. Okay, yeah, it's true that those are they're not supposed to be values. They're supposed to be.
Yeah, they're supposed to be parameters, yes, parameters that hold something. So, I don't know.
Maybe arguments. There's a way this thing does happen. Like this. I'm trying to remember that, you know. Should have cut it instead of deleting. Just this two stuff. Return all params. I'm getting mango.
I'm thinking that where you're supposed to put that spread, yes, that's where you're supposed to put it. So I can take as many arguments as possible.
Yes, you're right. So if we try to apply this, because this dot values, it feels like something like this. So I'm curious. If I did this, would I impute values, or will I see an error? Aha, it did work. Impute values turned out to be this. Well, I don't know, it feels more stressful than doing array.from. But these are two ways you can turn a node list into an array. Alright, so all good, Abby?
Yes, it's coming and going, but it's entering.
It's coming and going. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah,
So yeah,
these are
these
the
are
5 ways.
the 5 ways.
The 5 common
The
ways.
5 common ways.
I think you should mute
I
the
think you should meet
Jojo. I don't know what's
I don't
happening.
know what's
Sorry,
happening.
sorry.
My voice is coming out from your end. Yeah, these are the 5 common ways that, we get elements in JS. Of course, you saw that there were more, get by. Document dot, let's see, get. There's get by this tag name and NS. I don't really, I've not used it. I don't know what it's for. Okay, namespace. If namespace and local name are this, returns an HTML collection of all the sender elements. I don't get this. I've never had a reason to use it. You can look it up yourself. Get animations also, I've never used that as well. Get root nodes, not had a need to do that. Get selection, also never had a reason to use that. So these are just the common ones we use, Tag name. Oh, there's also get by name. And this name is, that name in inputs, that name attribute. Okay, so get a collection of objects based on the value of the name or ID attribute. I don't know, these days I just favor using query selector a lot, so I didn't really use this one. So yeah.
So if you are using this get by name, you will still put that thing in the angle bracket too?
No.
All these get bys
are
just quotes.
Okay, quotes.
Mm.
Okay, I understand.
Man, we've spent a lot of time on this getting. Today
as well. That we spend time. This is the real cocoa. All the thing that I've been doing since, this is the real thing.
Okay, there are the things left here are adding attributes, adding class with class list, adding text to HTML, and this is 455. So we'll not be able to touch all of them. Yeah, we'll not be able to touch all of them. Anyway, but like you said, yeah, it's better we take our time and properly go through this. So I think we'll just do one, which would be yes, attributes. So we're going to look at adding attributes with set attribute method, and we'll also look at getting attributes with get attributes. So we have these elements. Let's try to do something with them. So you can see, let's go over to this element. For example, this input is not disabled, right? And it also doesn't have, let me see, what other element doesn't it have? It doesn't have a value. Yeah, value is an attribute, right? It doesn't have a value. It doesn't have a disabled property. Okay, so let's try adding those attributes. Or actually we can say setting those attributes, because that's what it really is setting. The attributes already exist in the element. For example, where's first input? This is first input, right? If we open it up, we're going to see all those things. Scroll down, okay, it's too long. You scroll down, you'll see that there's value. There is also disabled. Is that then disabled? There's also disabled. It's just that it's false. So really it's setting attributes, not adding attributes. Well, the one that may be adding is dataset, because dataset is empty until you go try adding some data attributes into it. But really, that's it. So adding attributes is mostly just you setting. Anyway, let's talk. And more action. So giving this one a value, let me see. Yeah, we had first input, which is our first input. So this is the method to use, set attribute. And it takes in two things. Qualified name, which means name of attributes. And I guess the qualified name here means, something that is actually real. Like you can't just go put in a random attribute that is useless to HTML. It doesn't exist in HTML. Like chair. That's pointless. So something that does exist, like value, and then the next is the actual value you want to give the attribute. So let me say, as usual, give. So as you know, first input only has a placeholder, John. It doesn't really have a value. So once it has a value, you're not going to see John anymore, you see give. And let's also try doing this. First input dot set attribute disabled. Now, disabled, is that really going to work? There are some properties that disabled. Properties like disabled and checked. These are supposed to be Boolean. So I think right now I'm also curious whether using set attributes is going to work. Okay, and the third thing we're going to do is to set a data attribute. So set attribute, if you want to set a data attribute, again, it's just straightforward. Data and something. Let me see. Is there a special style we did here? ID is equal to third title. Okay, let me remove this. So that this will mean that any element that has data color equal to blue would have the color of that element set to blue. So that here we're going to set the data color of this input to blue. And we should see it visibly take effect. So these three things we're setting, no issues, Zabi. Nobody's talking.
No, I don't have issues. But what I just want to ask, that first input, the variable, I'm trying to remember what we used there.
First input.
Can you show me what you, that first input, what is the...
Okay, it's just the first item.
Exactly, that's what I was trying to remember.
Okay. So I think I needed to. So yeah, we see that it has the value give. It also has blue color, which means the data color worked. And I can't click on it, so it's disabled. But let's actually go look at it. So name is first name, yeah. Value is give, disabled is true, data color is blue. So setting attributes worked. Let me try one more thing. Yeah, so setting something like disabled that is supposed to be Boolean actually works, even though I didn't enter a string. I think it's just going to do type coercion. So let me try false and see if that works. So I'm going to make this second input disabled by default and try to use JavaScript to remove that disabled with set attribute. All right, so input fields, we can do input field square bracket 1 to target the second input, right? So input fields square bracket 1. If I say something you don't understand, please just let me know immediately. I'm trying to hurry a bit so I don't keep you guys too much.
No, don't hurry, don't hurry.
Okay, set attribute disabled false. I needed to. Okay, so it didn't work. I think when it does type cohesion, false. Let me see. Let's see what this turns into. I also want to see what type it is. So I want to put this in a variable and then use type of. So also check. Okay. So it's string false. It didn't. It didn't make a difference. Oh yeah. There's this stuff they always say. Okay, so let's do it this way instead. Generally, yeah, it's not advisable to set disabled this way. Usually we just access it directly. Input fields square bracket 1 dot disabled. Don't mind the thing that is not showing up. It's actually there. But disabled is equal to false. Yeah, this one does work. So I think we can just keep that as something, keep that at the back of our minds. If you're trying to access properties that are Boolean, like checked or disabled, it is easier or it's better to just access them directly. That element dot disabled is equal to true or false. That element dot checked is equal to true or false. If you use set attributes, you will be setting it to true every time because according to HTML is a very funny thing. According to HTML, those values, as long as they exist here, as long as they show up here, they will work. So this one now, this one is disabled, right? Yeah. Let me turn this to empty string and see. Sorry. Sometimes I forget and press. So you see, I turned this to empty string, and what did it do? It removed the equal to and an empty string and just stayed as disabled. And you know that this disabled means disabled true, right? Because this is just how I wrote it. This is just how I wrote it here. I didn't really have to put equal to anything. So just those Boolean attributes, just them showing up means that they are true. So the only way for you to set them is to access them directly and turn them false. That's the only way to set them to false. Because set attributes accept only strings or values. So you putting anything at all is eventually going to end up being true. Let me see. If you put empty string, and here we're going to put empty string and see what this turns into. Still disabled. It ended up just the way it was.
Even me, I'm thinking you have already said that thing is stringified. If you are putting empty string again, it's like you are doing tautology.
It's just there. So it's still going to end up. The type is string. It's not going to be false. Because let me see. No, this is not what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. If you look at the disabled property, it's not a string. Yeah, it's Boolean, true or false. Okay, draggable self is also a few things that are true or false here. So all of these, the only way to change them is access them directly. You know, element.draggable, element.hidden, element.incremental, and change it itself to true or false. But trying to use set attribute for them will always make them true. Okay, so that's that. That's for setting items, setting attributes.
So all these drop down that we got now are all the attributes of inputs. Abi?
Yeah.
And the way you wrote it, okay, I think I understand. Okay.
This
so
one,
you don't
this
even,
one,
no. Apart from even that one that you wrote hidden, if I even want to use it in CSS, I don't need to be putting I don't need to put it like a value and maybe something that will have value. I will not put is equal to something. To not be like that, I'll just write it like that.
Yeah.
All the ones that are booleans. You don't need to write disabled is equal to true or false. You just put it like that. Hidden, disabled, checked, just like that.
You mean in the HTML?
In the HTML, yes.
Yeah. So getting attribute is also fairly simple. Let me see. First input dot get attribute. Let's try to read that. So returns elements first attribute whose qualified name is qualified name. So this one takes only one what's this thing called? One parameter, which is the attribute you're trying to get the value for. So it will return null if that attribute doesn't exist. So what do we want to check now? Maybe name. Yeah, name. Now let's also do this first input dot get attribute for let's say disabled. Oh, I forgot. We are actually getting this, so we should store them in a variable. First input name. Is equal to this, and this should be first input disabled. Is equal to this, and my system is also about to die. Hey, we're good. We'll last. First input. Let me just call it color. Is equal to first input dot get attribute data color. So now, I think these are the three kinds of things that we may need to check, right? Normal attributes that their values are strings, you can get them like this. Values that their attributes that their values are Boolean. Let's see what we'll get, whether it will be a string or a Boolean. Data attributes. But now for data attributes, there's also another way to get them, right? First attribute, let me call it data color. Or let me say this data set is equal to first input dot data set. I don't know, it doesn't like to show up here, but it does exist. If you remember when we looked through here, you'll see there is a property called data set. And data set, holds key value pairs of all these data attributes. So let's have this one corner, and then const first input, let me say data color will be equal to, let me just write it straight. I think it will even be shorter that way. First input dot data set dot color. Right, because we set data color here. Inside this data set, well, it's not really an object, it's a DOM string map, but similar to an object, similar to the regular object, A property is going to be added in there, color, and it will have this value blue. I'm going to set another one, or I'll add this one straight from the HTML. There's one weird thing with those data attributes. If you're trying to get them from the data set property, they don't allow uppercase. So if we have data, maybe tab name is equal to maybe first, okay? And we have data, what do I call this now? Maybe share height is equal to 5. Yeah, so these are two different ways data attributes can be. They can just be one word, straightforward like this. That one, you won't have any problems with it. It's just color. Tab name might confuse you. If you want to do data dot element dot data set dot something, you might be tempted to write it exactly like this, but it will not be like this in there. It will be small n. And so element dot data set dot tab name with small n, you will get it. Element dot get attributes data tab name, exactly like this, you will get it. And for this one, trying to get it from data set, I think it will just be chair height. So let's try to get those two. Let's input, I'll just call this tab name. And this one will be chair height. I think that's how it will be. So first name input, first input name. And the next is first input disabled. You know what? Let's make this faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go over here. Okay. So first input chair height is undefined. I think I probably made a mistake there. First input color was blue. Yeah, I think I remember this one. First input data color was blue. So both ways of trying to access it worked out. Now for the data set, it's only showing color. So maybe I need to refresh. Yeah. So we have three things. Okay. All right. So I think I get it now. I rarely do things this way. I see now. So if you say something like data color, data dash color, it will enter this data set with just that second word, color, for example. Here we wrote tab name, data tab name in the HTML with capital N, but it's ended up here as just small letters, just tab name with small letters. This one we wrote it with chair dash height in the HTML. It ended up here in camel case, chair height. So I think I need to adjust that. Chair height. Just to be safe. All right. First input disabled ended up as empty string. Oh, yeah. But it's not supposed to be empty string because, well, it actually is empty. Okay. So that means to get, what's it called? To get Boolean properties, once again, get attributes isn't so great. So you would have to do this. Disabled will be first input dot disabled.
Don't die. Okay. He's not even try safe. My God go bless her. Yeah, they find technology website that go do the transfer power. As I did like this place, as I get light for you, I'll just transfer and give code give you. Wow. But I'm seeing it's too this thing. It's network. It's not that it died. No worry. Now we go view that technology. All these power issues here, every time there's no light, I cannot code. No here I'm again. It's network. It's coming back. We cannot hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Where did you guys lose me earlier? Because I don't even know when I got this one.
When you were trying to talk about this disabled, that's where for me, that's where I belong.
Getting Boolean attributes, getting the values from Boolean attributes. You have to do it once again this way, like accessing the attribute directly, that element dot that attribute. Trying to use get attributes will once again give you a string which wouldn't really tell you anything. Yeah. Then for data set, things I talked about, you were able to hear those ones, Abi?
Yes, you got that one. That I got it too.
Okay,
so this data set, like you said, they are. I think it only applies to him. Okay. Okay. And the data attributes are all the attributes that are associated with that element. Abi?
Data attributes are basically how do I put it? Custom attributes. You want to store something inside the HTML. I think it should mean again. You want to store something inside the HTML, but you don't want to use, let me say, class or any of those other existing attributes. You can now create your own. It's very, very common to see when you work for, you may need to also add data attributes. Like, if you are doing these Bootstrap components, like maybe Bootstrap accordion or Bootstrap modal, I think you need to use data attributes to set some things. Anyway, let me go find something that I'm sure there were lots of data attributes in there. One page. Yeah, I think one page had that. So here, at least one of the libraries I know I used here that made me use data attributes a lot was AOS. AOS is animate on scroll, I think. Yeah, so you've seen those kind of websites where as you are scrolling, you see some parts of the page just falling in, maybe sliding in from the right, sliding from the bottom, zooming out to fill up the space allocated for it. AOS can do that. Now let me just search. Yeah. So this one is using for something else. Iconify, data icon. You see there are 173 uses of data attributes here. Let's find another one. This is still icon. Yes, data AOS. So this is delay for 300 milli. It will delay for 300 milliseconds before this element is going to be animated in, and it's fade up. So it would allocated for it after that somebody has scrolled to where it is, and this fading and sliding up process lasts for 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. And this is the animation style now. Ease in out. The transition.
But what I want to get is, what I've not gotten is, you said I'm the one creating it. Meaning I'm the one defining the way the value will be. Like for this one that you said, like data, it's an example. That is delay. There's nothing like this that is existing as a predefined attribute like the way we have
Yes,
width.
exactly. As a predefined
And
HTML
height.
attribute. This
attribute.
does
Yeah,
not
so
exist.
you are the person that created this attribute now has already defined it. Maybe there will be code. This thing is just representing a particular code. Abi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the code, the AOS library is going to look for these properties. It's going to look for data AOS to tell it how it should animate that element. It's going to look for data AOS delay to find out how long it should delay before starting the animation. It's going to look for data AOS duration to find out how long it should set the animation to be. It's going to look for data AOS easing to find out what transition style it should use. There are plenty more data attributes that AOS is looking out for, but I don't want to use those ones. So they will just be using their default values, maybe nothing or whatever presets they already have. But using that library, if you want to do certain presets, certain settings, you need to use data attributes to, set them for each element. Okay, I was using fade up a lot. These are also easing out. And see this one, data AOS is zooming. So different things like that. So that's data attributes. So another place I found it very helpful is, you see now, something like this. This Mentro. I think I use data attributes here. They can be used to store a lot of things. Just really lots of situations where you need to store something. Also for tabs. Sometimes you see, you click a tab and it moves to that tab. You could decide to store maybe a particular name inside that tab. So you just write a simple function that covers all the tab headers. So that once you click on this tab, the function would go inside that tab and see the name there and know what content to display at the bottom. There are just different reasons you may need to use data attributes. They are a blessing to front end. So yeah, that's that for today. So
Thank you. There was something I saw in this your code now that have a clip art. There's a place that they wrote G clip art. And I wrote
That's SVG.
Eh?
SVG.
SVG. Okay.
You don't need to bother. Okay, I think it's here. You see, it's SVG. You don't really need to bother about this because it's very rare that you would have reason to create SVG elements in HTML yourself. Most of the times, you will get those SVG elements from somewhere else, say from Figma or from places that have icons. I think that thing was an icon. So see Iconify.design. This is one place I like to go to. It has a wealth of icons. Like just take a look at this. Let this open up. Come on. Wow. This network is falling my hand. Yeah. So look at this. These are all, different, will I say, groups of icons. All of them are assembled here in Iconify. So I just like to use this place a lot. Anyway, if we search here for any, I'll just open up any icon, memory icons. Yeah. Don't worry, it's network is making it look blurred. They are not usually this blurred. So all of them have an SVG, that they're created from. So you can just copy this SVG and go paste it in your work, and it will turn up. So you don't really need to worry about creating SVGs yourself. From the icons you use or stuff like that, you will see their SVG values, and it will be your choice whether to download. Let's say this one now. You can choose to download the SVG and it will come like a file, like an image that you can put inside IMG tags and go ahead. Or you can get the actual SVG itself and go paste in your codes and use like that. Different things. So yeah, Don't worry about those clip parts.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate.
You're welcome. So that did that. It go be. See you next week.